Okay guys, I'm gonna try and do this walkthrough all in one shot, but I've been promising the finished walkthrough on this camper. You've seen this camper on the channel there in a few videos. It got attention that I didn't think it would while I was doing other stuff, and then folks started asking about it, so started doing a couple more videos on it. So you've seen other videos on it. You're welcome to go and see it when it was in production, but it's done now. It's a flatbed unit, and I've got the owners here, Alaskan Amblers, there on YouTube. They're right here. They have a YouTube channel over there, and they came to us. They had a cash camper from us before. This is Jay and Mary. Anyway, this is their camper. It started this way. Let me let's go inside and grab the paperwork, and we'll kind of go over the whole thing. Wait a minute, that paperwork's inside, isn't it? So let me, yep, tiny little sketch. So let's look at this original. Just don't let me forget about those sensors. All right, guys, let's go and look at its original. The conception of it. I just saw it somewhere in here. There it is. Okay, so this is how the camper started. This is how most of our campers start. There's a little scratch. That's what Mary did. And it's funny because I was, you gave this to me about halfway through our conversation and was like, oh, wait a second, we're on the same page. So yeah, that's what it was. She scratched that down back in August and said, hey, this is what we've been wanting to do. And again, they had a cash camper before, right? When did you guys get that camper? I forget.
Second-hand from somebody in Fairbanks.
It was a 2003 model.
Was it one that we had made for a rental company?
Yeah, that's what
okay.
You said based on the model number.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yep.
It was old, and it was good, but getting a little tired, and we wanted more space.
Yeah. Yep. And it, you know, we built a lot of those, so you liked it,
Yeah.
and you're like, hey.
It lasted 20-some years.
Yeah.
And so how long have you been looking at doing a flatbed then?
3 or 4 years.
Yeah?
Thinking about trying to find one or whatever, but when we realized we could come here and have one built.
Right. Yep. That's fun. That's neat. Yep. And it started by you guys asking about something else you had to work on, wasn't it? Sorry, didn't mean to make you spend that much.
On the previous camera, I took the skylight out going to an overpass. Or
a McDonald's drive-through.
Yeah.
So we needed a new dome for the old camper and called for parts. And
yep. Well, that's how things go.
that's how things go. So,
Yep. All right. Well, let's go over this thing, and then Jay will be my tripod for setting stuff up in the side for like the bed or whatever, or if we have to work something. And then yeah, we'll just kind of go through the whole thing, show you everything. And if you have to run, then happy to be turning it over to you finally.
we're thrilled.
Yep. Sweet.
Thanks.
All right. Well, perfect. We'll see you.
See ya.
They work.
Just let you go to it. You want me to? You need my help out here? You just want to?
I don't think so. I'm gonna just kind of show everything that you wanted done, and kind of show how it's tied down. We'll go inside. We'll look at the table. We'll make that into a bed. We'll look at the bathroom. We'll look at all the systems in it, the electrical, how it turned out. We'll look at the other side, how the water system's designed and built, and yeah, just how the jacks are set up. We'll also go up on the roof. We'll set up the Lippert ladder. We'll run up there on the roof, show the solar panels and everything. And yeah, we'll just kind of go over everything, and like the departure angle, the reason that's like that for your boat and all of that. And then yeah, we'll just kind of play it by ear. Guys, I don't know how long the video is going to be. It'll be as long as it needs to be, but hopefully you like it. This is a custom build. This is what we do here at Cash Camper. And so yeah, you bring your designs to us, and we'll build them. So let's jump into it. Okay, so coming to this side, right here, he wanted, obviously you can see this is a big old toolbox, but he wanted a place for the skis and for the Traeger, the gas cans, the generator, what else? Traeger grill. He also wanted to be able to run it out here. So there's some electrical up in here that's run on. So there's a few things going on. He wanted Starlink and everything. His Traeger sits right here, little Traeger smoker. Then he wants to be able to run it on the inverter, on the converter, if he's running on a generator or plugged in at a camper park. And he also wants to run his Starlink. So this is just 100 watts of inverter power, so that it's always running. So he can just stick his Starlink plug right here through this and run it out. He's got a 75-foot cord, and that's what he has found works for him, because sometimes he's parked in the trees and he needs to be able to just put that Starlink antenna wherever. So yeah, you can see this Lippert ladder fits in here. So this is 21 inches deep over here, and I believe it's up to 24 over here, and it's like 20 something high. Got the L track inside to stow heavy stuff. He'll probably end up putting various D-rings in here or other types of tie downs. He's got his hoses in there. All of this stuff will end up finding a place. I'm sure you'll come up with a system for yourself. Got an exterior light here. This runs on a switch on the inside, but also it can be switched out here. This is LED. These things pivot so that you can actually have some light thrown while you're out here hanging out or working. Got a 25,000 BTU furnace. I'll show you how we did the plumbing inside, but it does have tanks and everything, but it also has a way to drain out just your regular sink, gray water or whatever, into a bucket or out into the bushes, depending on where you're at. And obviously do it right, depends on the regulations. But then he did want the electric jacks here. These are on swing away brackets so you can get it off the truck. This thing was built, we built it just inside this this rail line for the stake pockets, so that, you know, it's not sitting out a little too wide, right, catching stuff. He can still use his regular mirrors and it's not going to cause a problem, right? So you can still, it's still easy enough to see going down the road. That's a really big deal. But I believe those mirrors, they're at full extension, aren't they? Did you? Okay. But those types of things are really a big deal. If you guys are doing your own build, you really want to think about stuff like that. This truck is a dually, right? So this camper is 92.5 inches wide, just so to answer some of you guys out there. In this video, I'll also kind of answer some of the questions that you folks on the channel have been asking as well, kind of like tie downs. A gentleman had questions on tie downs, and we'll cover all of those. But we'll keep doing a walk around. Right here, this is 30 amp service for your generator or your shore power. Right here, you have a single 20-pound propane tank. Now, this is plenty in most cases. It is arguably, with an on-demand water heater, it's arguably just borderline not enough. You could go with another tank, but this is fully capable. So you can always store another tank in here. Might even fit another one in that compartment over there or inside the toolbox there. But that's it. Then this right here, when you open it up, you can feel the heat. It's not, the furnace isn't cranking right now, but you can feel the heat pumping in here. And it's designed that way to keep this warm, because this camper was built for actual true 4 seasons, to be used really wherever, because you guys are going to do like a year-long trip, right?
Yeah.
All over the place.
Yep. Colorado in the winter and some in Alaska. So.
Yeah. Yep. So, you know, and believe it or not, you know, out of Alaska, sometimes the weather's more harsh. You know, Alaska's not the only place with rough weather. Got another light back here. This did not necessarily need these, but it should have them because these are fully visible. That, if you guys are going to do a build, I strongly encourage you to go ahead and put those on. But really right here, this departure angle, he wanted it built this way because you got a boat, right? A couple of different boat trailers.
You want to have full access to work down here.
Yep. And it's not going to catch, and it's not going to run into anything. You're not going to have, you know, just that weird if you're coming out here with a 90 degree. This is just a simple 45 degree. For those of you who might wonder, that's only a 45 degree departure angle. 45s are very easy in production. They make a lot of sense. Oftentimes they look the best as well when you're actually looking at the final unit. 45s just work. Anyway, so I think it turned out pretty good. This right here, the camper ended up being a little bit longer than this. We needed to do that to be able to house a lot of the systems inside. But right here, this is a on-demand water heater. They just switched these within the past year and a half, I believe, to a 60,000. Maybe it's a little longer than a year, but a 60,000 BTU. It's an on-demand water heater. They went with the large assist handle right here. And that's really, you know, as time goes on, you want a good secure way to get up into the camper. And this is one that is always kind of sort of an issue when it comes to slide-in campers, flatbed campers, doesn't matter what it is, getting in and out. You've got a long way up. So having a nice big assist handle like that is pretty nice. Plus, when you fold it closed, it helps with keeping the door closed, because sometimes those of you who are RVers out there know that sometimes those doors can fly open on you, depending on the terrain that you're on. But we've got the MORryde steps that we built in here and put on this. We did have to modify and fabricate this to get out over here. So this portion is all us that we built and welded up for them. But then these just go right up inside. Click. There you go. And then when you're done, just open it up. Nice. Yep. And then your legs can adjust. I love this step system. Very good. But then the door, this is one we went back and forth on a little bit to see what was going to work the best. That can lock in the fully open position, and also in this position to where he can put his Traeger on this side as well, still have his light up here, and set up right here, maybe underneath the awning when it's raining or drizzling. He can still do what he needs to do. And then the door isn't in the way and flopping and everything. But then obviously you got your screen door. All right. Anyway, so that's the door. This one does have a cassette toilet in it. The Dinette, I believe it's the 4110. So this is a 5-gallon Dinette, or 5-gallon tank here. And it does run on a freshwater supply. The water system here is completely heated. It's nice and warm in this compartment, arguably a little too warm, but he's got low point drains. You guys know from the other videos how the water system was designed in this. The low point drains come here, so this is for the freshwater pressurized side. It does have its lowest point. That way you can drain it. You know, you can just open these up and this thing's gonna just drain itself out. He didn't want to have valves all over the thing. He's had campers in the past. He has several boats, and he doesn't want a valve over there, one over there, and then question marks with the water system. And that works because I don't like designing water systems that way. I like designing all systems, whether it's water or electrical, with all of the valves in one place. So what you have here is you have your water pump. You can get to the pressure switch on the top easy. You can easily replace the pump if needed. A technician, you're not going to pay him 12 hours to repair or replace a water pump. You can see your screen. Inside here, he doesn't like tank and leveler or tank sensors. So you can look in here and you can see exactly where that water line is. See if it'll move for us on the video. But the water line is right here. You can also look up in there and see the how full the gray water tank is as well, which we need to drain that out. And you can also see how full the water tank is for the shower. Right there, you can see that line that looks like a shadow. That's the how the water level there. You can also see back in there you got heat ducting into this compartment. And then right there, we'll walk inside and look at it. But then that heat, once this compartment is full, it makes its way into the shower and keeps that shower nice and warm. Because shower stalls in campers can be little refrigerators. Okay, you can put it all away. It makes it easy, a little easier. So that's pretty much it. Winterizing kit, low point drains, tank drain, everything right here. And they all hook up to a garden hose. Same thing with your gray water bayonet. You can just hook up a regular garden hose to this and drain it. And then you just got 2 split blade valves. It is pressure fill. I personally like pressure fill because gravity fill lines, gravity fill ports for RVs are notorious for, as time goes on, they leak on the inside. So in this case, these are nice pressure fittings that are solid, and the fail rate of leaking inside is very low with this. Then what you do have to do in that case is you need to put 2 discharge lines so that the tank, once it's full, can overflow outside of the camper. And in this case, you can see they go out the wall and they go into the front here, down back in here. I don't know if you can see it, but they go back in there. You can see them right there, and they just drain onto the ground. And then that brings up the next topic. And then this he can set up for just hanging out at the campground. But that brings up the next topic, where is that going to damage the camper if it's draining underneath the camper? And the answer is no. So now that kind of moves into how this camper is set on the truck. And this answers the question of the gentleman who has asked me actually a few times now, and I think there's a couple other folks who have asked, how do you mount a flatbed camper? There's a few different ways to do it. Jay, he did not want bolts. You wanted to be able to take it on and off. You didn't want kind of the hassle of bolts. So you liked the turnbuckles. So why do you like the turnbuckles?
Simply for the ease of taking it on and off. I understand the bolts are kind of more secure, but
yeah.
It just, I want to be able to also use it as a flatbed occasionally, and so.
And you have a gooseneck in there too. Do you use that?
No.
No?
No. That
Okay.
just came with the flatbed when they put the flatbed on.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you did, you could easily use it, because it's not.
Absolutely.
There's no modifications to this camper at all, to make to the flatbed to make the camper fit. There's just none. It's literally just setting on the existing flatbed. And this is how you had one of our campers before, and you had it setting on this flatbed, and
Right.
he had it already to these tie down points. So we just went ahead and utilized them. We did have to move them in the front because of doors and everything. Like this one would have blocked this door, and you would have had to taken that off every time. So we just reinforced underneath here to the sidewall. I'll show you how we did that. Let me look up in there. You can see how we bent up 1/8 inch steel. No, we did 1/8 inch aluminum, and we tied this box into the sidewall. And that's okay, because this box is welded all the way around, right? This is welded all the way around, and then this sidewall is 1/8 inch steel, and this is welded to everything. So it's a very secure box. If that was just a skirt that wasn't structural, we would have never done this. We would have actually tied in, but it is structural, so that works just fine. I hope that answers the question for that gentleman. And then in this case, we have reinforced brackets on the interior here, tying that corner together. I'll probably be able to show you easier on the other side. No, I can show you here. So we've got our aluminum tying that corner, right? And it's also tying the corner for the jacks themselves right here. You can see how that's done. And then those are bolted on the front here. You got 1, 2 bolts, and then you got all of these lags, and then we screw it, and then we also silicone all our joints that we do with aluminum, and we tie that whole corner together. So it's a super strong corner, and then this is just tied right through all of that. So anyway, that's how we do the tie downs. And then in this case, we just went ahead. This might look like a fancy block, but guys, keep your systems on your setup simple. You can design things for the pleasure of engineering, but just don't let the pleasure of engineering overtake simplicity and what just flat works. This works, okay? This is literally just a 2x4 that's furred out with a spacer on it to stop it from sliding down. It's cut exactly to fit to where you have to actually tap that in gently with a mallet. In fact, there's a mallet mark on that from when we tapped it in. And then we just drilled a hole in his stake pocket and sent a keeper screw so this thing doesn't bounce out on him. And then that's what keeps the camper from sliding side to side. And yes, that's more than enough. Those are not going to snap on them. And if they do, let me know. Yeah, maybe you shouldn't be taking those kinds of trails at that point. So build stuff for how you're going to use it. So think about how you're going to use it. But you can see we got 4 of these. And if you want to be more secure with it, maybe you can put 1 on each one of these. That way it's not only resting on one. But that's more than enough. And then if you look forward here, you can see this is pushing tight. This putty tape is oozing out because of the pressure. And then right here, this camper is setting. We went ahead and mounted, this is like stall mat right here. This is rubber, very similar to mud flat material, but it's stall mat, like horse stall mat. And it's screwed into this steel, and then the camper is just resting against that. So you can call that a docking bumper, okay? That's all that is. And then you've seen the truck in the other videos, how it did have a support gusset here. We did sacrifice that. We cut that and then painted the frame so it doesn't have that corner gusset. So you'd want to think about maybe because that corner gusset is there for a reason. You don't want it to be falling forward against the cab, right? But this is plenty strong. If you're going to be running the truck a lot without the camper and you're going to be winching off of that or doing anything like that where you got a load pressing against it, you'd probably not want to sacrifice that gusset. So think about those things. Or maybe you'd come out here and you'd tie it into the side of the bed and just let the camper cradle into it. So there's all kinds of fabrication you can do, but that's how we did that. So obviously the Rico Titan electric jacks. Let's run inside. I think we got everything. Well, we didn't cover the elephant in the room, the awning here. This is just a Rhino rack bag awning, and we'll fold that up here in a second. But this is literally just the style that closes up, and I'll show it to you here in a second. We'll close it up and then show you how it looks stowed away. But this is my favorite kind of awning. This is what we put on all of our units. You can lash it into the ground, and as long as you lash it into the ground, that thing's going to handle the wind. If you don't lash it into the ground like you should, then the wind can take it pretty easily. But I love this awning because it's 8 foot wide, it comes out 8 feet, and it actually has coverage. So you can see, like, you can hang out underneath here with multiple people, multiple lawn chairs. You can have a table under here and still have plenty of room. So I personally love these awnings. Love them because oftentimes with an awning you have it all the way up in the sky, right up top there, and it doesn't cover hardly anything, right? Like an awning like this is a good awning for this trailer, but it's full length of the trailer. If I did it on this camper, my leg starts there and ends here, and so by the time it goes out and by the time it's deployed, you have barely any kind of space sitting in here in a lawn chair that's actually covered from the rain, because you get any kind of sideways rain and you have maybe 2 lawn chairs worth, and they're $3,000 to $4,000, whereas that thing installed is what, I think like $800-900. So way cheaper, way better in my opinion. Anyway, let's run inside. Finally got inside. Right here you have basic controls. You have your switch for your inside light right up top there. It runs right here on this switch. That way you can have some light right inside the door. If you're out, you know, you just need to look inside really quick, maybe get into this drawer, get to your boots or whatever. But these are all the exterior floodlights right here, and each one of those floodlights is individually switched too, so you could turn all of these on and then go outside and use each one of those switches, and then your electric jacks. Here's your dinette. Get some of these lights turned on. Okay, we got lights. So let me put this over the counter. So that's her sink. Really nice big sink. It's like 25 inches by 15 to give you perspective. But she also wanted a cover over it, so, you know, because in a camper, even in this big camper with this big table, maybe Jay's over there working and Mary's in here doing her thing, and she doesn't have enough counter space, you know. So she also wanted a little place to have a surface to work on. So we just made her a cutting board there. So let's kind of go over each item. We got the refrigerator. This is the one that they wanted. It's a regular Dinette absorption fridge, 5 cubic foot. Has a little ice chest up there. We do all kinds of them, 12 volt and propane. Depending on the purpose of your unit and how you want to build it, you'll want to think about your efficiency, and in many cases propane is more efficient than electricity, believe it or not. They have plenty of a big electrical system in here, but still this is a good efficient fridge. It can do 110 volt and gas. Right now it's on auto, so basic 2-way fridge there. Then
light that indicates that anything is going on, but that's okay.
Yeah, it should go straight to gas. And it shows you on there the little indicator button. It shows you that up is gas, so no light will be on.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oops, well, I accidentally pressed start on that, so they got a little bit of that. But so now you guys know how the fridge works. But yeah, auto means it's just gonna select whatever. I would always leave it on auto. Forcing it onto gas is good.
Yeah, but
if you know you need to,
right.
But as soon as you plug in, it'll automatically switch over.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so right here we'll cover the dinette. We'll kind of make this into a bed, but this turns into a 6'3", actually probably about 6'5", because it's got a recline, and all my math is always off the base, so it's got a 2-inch recline. So by the time you're up here, you can see down there, from this point to the other side is 6'3", but up here it's probably like 6'5" by the time it's all deployed. But yeah, we'll turn this into a bed, and then we'll also take this apart, show you the finished battery bay, the how that's set up underneath there for the water heater and their boot storage. Show you how the electric bay and the propane are incorporated with the inverter. And then we'll open up this bay here so you can see the electrical, how the electrical underneath there is actually distributed and looks. And then we'll jump there in the bathroom there. Yep. Okay, so this right here is the Lagoon table system. Just about everybody knows what this is. You had this in your other camper.
We did.
Liked it.
Yep.
I have this in my camper. I like it. It's what we put in the fish hook. It's just really good because you can move the table wherever you need to. You can go up and down however you need to. You can take it out. It significantly beats the whole post and pedestal. But if you look underneath here, the sometimes on a big table, because this is almost a 40-inch long table, it's really big, by I think it's 30 inches wide, so a lot of space. It just gets really weak. So if I move this, you can see how flimsy it is. It's solid, but it's kind of, you sit there and you put your elbows on it and it leans. And so this is where I like to offer a post, an adjustable post like this that can collapse. Like you can take this and collapse it and get rid of it, you know. I like doing that so that when you turn it into a bed, that thing's out of the way, but you also have the option to make it a little bit more secure of an option. Sometimes it's hard to find the little clip on the back of where it should go. But let's go ahead and put this, turn this into a bed. So this here comes loose. Sometimes you gotta be a little rough on it. This comes off. There. And then we'll cover those outlets in a minute too. But then this goes in there, like so. And then these back rests come off. And this is something that, guys, if you're doing your own build or whatever, or you're asking us to build something for you or whatever, really consider how the dinette's going to be. I like making the dinette to where the cushions fit in very tight, because that stops them from separating while you're sleeping. That's a big deal. So right there. And then that, wish I could put a tape on it, but that's a good 6 foot, 6'5", somewhere around there. I'll lay down on it so you can see, not to show how short I am, but but there you go. And then it's 40 inches wide, so you could fit 2 people there. A twin mattress, just so you can kind of get a visual, is this wide, 48, so about there. So yeah, that's a nice feature. I like the dinette being shaped this way, because I mean, you know, from your old camper, yeah, you know, like a U shape. It's nice, but it's nowhere near like being able to sit and look across at each other. Yeah. And then you can get rid of that if you want. Throw that up there, and then you have plenty of space in here if you need to hang out without the table. So that's nice too. Okay, so while we're still in here, before we move on, we've got a couple of different outlets, and it's smart to think through this kind of stuff if you're going to do a design. Think about dual capability. So in here we have a converter outlet and an inverter outlet. He can use, so yeah, so you have a little bit, you have one of each. So depending on what happens, let's say the inverter is not working for whatever reason, you just plug in to shore power and you got that, or vice versa, right? Dual capability, right? Try to think through things like that. Dual capability in the same area. Obviously you can't do that across everything, otherwise you'd have thousands of outlets. But so then here you have your regular USB outlets and your 12-volt sockets, and these run off of your regular battery, right? And then we'll look in there here in a second at the battery bay. But right here, okay, each person's got theirs, and then there's another one up here, almost overkill, but you never know. Maybe you have a little 12-volt coffee pot that needs to run over here, or you want to charge your phones on this. And then this one is a converter outlet, and it is GFCI because it's in the kitchen area. Depending on the types of rules you want to follow. You have NEC rules, you know, that you can try to stick with their code, which is incredibly intelligent. If you're going to do that, I encourage you to. But technically, that outlet is within reaching distance of the sink. So technically, all of these should be a GFCI protected. I believe that one is going to be downstream protected off of this particular outlet, but that inverter over there isn't going to be, unless it's plugged into a certain spot on the inverter. So use that type of judgment, okay? Follow proper rules. So this here got a nice little storage spot back there above the propane. You can put some stuff. That's probably about 18 inches deep on this side, about 8 inches deep on that side by about 11 inches wide that way. So, and then this right here is the cast iron version. We can take that off of there now. This is the cast iron version of this stove. This is the Dinette, and the cast iron one just has much thicker grates here and less space in between. I personally really like this version of their stove, but it's got a little electric start. Sometimes this gets gummed up and sticky, so still keep a lighter in a tote or something. But then underneath here, I already showed you the sink. She really liked that faucet and wanted that, so that's what she got. You just have to be careful not to accidentally turn it on like I did earlier and run it on top of the cutting board. Right here, so this is from the outside. That little drain goes over to the wall. And to give you guys kind of sort of pro tips, when you're hooking up your water hose, I love those screw clamp fittings for garden hose. They're just way better than hose clamps. Don't use hose clamps. You reach in somewhere into a compartment, you cut a hand. It's not nice. Hose clamps almost always leak. I really like those. If you have to back up with a little bit of silicone on the joint and then close it, you can. But those are great because on the swivel side, you can still have a swivel fitting while not, having a fitting that's gonna cut your hand with you in there, going through the motions of loosening and tightening. Anyway, so I just like those. But right here, you can see we have a simple 1.5" blade valve. You guys can get these at any of your stores there if you're going to be building a unit yourself. But this side, you open up this blade valve if you want it to drain into the gray water tank for the sink. If you want it to drain outside into a bucket or into the woods, you can open up this valve right here, and that'll drain it outside, right? So just leave that one open. If you leave both of these closed, then you're just gonna back the sink up. Nobody wants that. But there you go. And then this is all open storage. Now this one is 4-season, okay? It's a 4-season unit. So heat ducted into this bay. You can see You got heat ducts running with all the water lines, and then this is sitting in here pointing at your water system. So everything's going to stay warm in here. If that furnace is running, it is impossible to freeze this camper up. So keep good battery supply and propane, and this thing's not going to freeze. So right here, this is the interaction with the electrical system. I encourage you all, when you're doing your electrical systems, to build a system to where you have simple components that don't have to talk to each other, and that if they fail, they're simple to replace or simple for a regular tech to work on. Because to find the best, if something is impossible to work on for somebody, then is it the best? Because everything has a problem at some point. So when you design a system that way, you use basic components that are tried and true. And then something else happens. When you use those basic tried and true components, what ends up happening is you're using tried and true components, so you have a lower fail rate. So just a great way to do an electrical system. I love this particular charge controller. There's a lot of information out there, you can use this, but this is just the 30 amp Go Power cabinet mount charge controller. It is not MPPT. You don't need that for anything under 600 watts of solar, in my opinion. Now, 600 watts of solar wired in parallel. There's a ton of different ways to do a solar system. The way we have found is the most effective and does a good job for how we do our systems. This is just a mobile application, guys. We're not trying to put a rover on Mars, right? So the way this works is it's 3 paralleled 190 watt ZAMP solar panels run into a 30 amp charge controller. Perfectly acceptable, and it's going to keep up really well. So this charge controller has a max boost, so you can actually give the batteries a nice little 30-minute boost charge. So I love this charge controller. It does a really good job. My personal camper didn't have to charge it all season, and I leave my components on full time. So then back in here you have your breaker banks. These are right here buried behind the power converter, but it's 5 screws. You pull your power converter out and you have full access to everything. You don't have to open up a cabinet and take off 1,000 screws and find up underneath there somewhere or buried in that cabinet there's a breaker or something, right? They're all here. So you have your solar breakers, you have your main breaker, you have your downstream breakers over there, you have a main battery disconnect. This is a very simple 75 amp battery disconnect switch. It's a plunge switch, push-pull. It's tried and true, very low fail rate. I love this switch. Contacts tend to last a long time on them, so that's why we use those switches, right? Then right here, you have your inverter. You don't want to overload a 2,000 watt inverter, and I'll show you that inverter. It's over there in that bay. This right here is just half of you have interior inverter outlets or exterior inverter outlets. So he can either run his Traeger and a bunch of stuff outside, or he can come inside at night and he can run his TV and all that. And that's how he wanted it. And you can wire it several different ways. You can have half of the outlets in here and half of them outside, and those are on, and you can toggle back and forth. But for him, he wanted to either be running the TV or be running his stuff outside. But yeah, that's how this is done. This is just the backup remote for the jacks. This right here is the inverter. It's a breaker for the inverter outlets that are all run. That way you're not going to overload. It's just an extra fail-safe for the inverter. You don't need it, but it's an extra fail-safe. Then right here, all of these water lines are given grade. So they're 2 inches higher in the back. They run around the perimeter here, and you can go and look in a video on this. We have that on a build video. You got 2 inches of grade higher in the back than in the front, and then on top of that the truck tilts forward, so you have a lot of grade going to that front lower corner so that all your water lines drain. But these are the fresh water lines, and this ducting is run everywhere with them. So all right, let's look over here in the battery bay. So this is upgradable. You can upgrade this battery bay, you know, within, this is a 12 volt platform, and I've already shared this with you guys. This is 3600 watt hours. So you got 150, 150, these are wired in parallel. Now, I would encourage, you know, you to run everything on bus bars. In fact, if you're running lithium, you should do bus bars like this. This one is paralleled like normal. It's okay, there's nothing wrong with it, but if you're going to be running lithium, you need to come to bus bars. That's the right way to wire, and then distribute out from this to the rest of your system like we have done here. But instead, like if we were going to drop another battery in here, it would be smart to go ahead and take all of these and run all of them individually directly to the bus bars rather than linking from battery to battery to battery. Now if you're going to do a series circuit, it's a little different, but in this case this is a parallel circuit. So just a good way to do it. Within a year on these salt silicates, you can add a third battery without replacing the whole bay. But on most techs other than lithium, and it is this way for some lithium as well, but on most techs you can, you need to, you can't put an old battery with a new battery, right? You need to put equal workhorses together, otherwise they draw each other down. So the worst batteries will kill the new battery. So you can add a new battery in here within a year and a half or so, and you'll be okay. But then right there, so that's how we do the batteries. Very good. These batteries don't freeze, or they freeze, but they don't have a memory, so they can be discharged and then frozen and then warmed back up and recharged, and they don't have a memory. They don't remember that you did that to them. Not that you should do that to them, but they don't remember that. So then you have propane over here in this corner. This is exposed to interior heat. It's ducted, right? And then these are cut with holes in the ducts. That's all you have to do. Don't get complicated with it. You could put a Y in here, a reducer Y, to where you're ducting 3-inch that way and 4-inch that way. But putting holes in the duct, guys, that's more than enough. Simple. Keep things simple. That's all you got to do. And then you got to have a place for the air to discharge into a bay. If you're going to duct heat into a bay, make sure you can discharge that air, right? You have to have air discharge. Otherwise, you create an air lock, and then it won't duct in there anymore, right? So then that's the 2000 watt inverter. This is the only breaker that is not over here with the rest of them in the electrical bay. That breaker needs to be close to the inverter, but that's just a 200 amp breaker required for that. And then the inverter is wired into a remote switch over here, so you don't have to open that up to get into it every time. Okay, but yeah, that's the battery bay. So over here, he's got a TV up in here. This TV is on a MoreRide's swing bracket, so you can move it. That's run on the inverter. It's one of the inverted switches, right? Then he's got some power converter switches up there. Then he's got lights up, reading lights on each corner. Then some nice open, nice big storage there. Then here, just basic wardrobes. These are they've got like a mini ship. It's not just a boat. I would call it a mini ship. But this is the kind of out in the water. This is what you use on the boat, right? Yeah, so the cabinets don't fly open on you. Yeah. But yeah, these here, I personally like gas prop cabinet door openers if you can do them. They're not always practical, but they're nice. It's nice to have at least one open spot on big cabinets like this, whereas over here you have stiles in between each. Right, you got these center stiles, which is fine, but in some places it's nice to have bigger open storage. And then when you're designing your cabinets, try and design them to where they're not boxes, to where one is cutting the other off, because then you get spots where it's hard to reach, and you can store less things. So anyway, little stuff. Try to cover all your wires with some sort of an electrical chase. Right here, you've got nice, I like those. I like light filtering more than blockouts. Yeah. I do, yeah. Blinds. Then over here, you got regular old furnace thermostat. This is the kind I encourage you to use if you're in a cold climate, because the LCD screens tend to have problems. But right here, she's going to hang her broom here. This is her pantry. You can put more baskets in here if need be, but that'll lock in. I like using this style lock because they tend to hold stuff a lot better running down the road in a camper. Campers like to swing and sway around. This is a 75K series vent. That's a max air, so it can run going down the road. Right here you want to have natural vection for your heat ducted into the shower. This is the shower stall right here. And then this is the cassette toilet inside. It's an electric cassette toilet, but it does have a manual flush down here. This is the heat duct. That really helps with mold movement. You're going to want to have a way to vent, right, as well. So this is a little electric vent in here. But you're going to want to be able to move the air. That way you're not getting musty and mildewy. That also brings in some nice light, but it is also for headroom. So if you're going to build your shower, don't just put that anywhere. Put it to where you can stand, right? A little mat is kind of nice to have in there. Little wash-up sink, but that's the bathroom. Nothing like going to the bathroom in a freezing cold room. Nobody likes that. But yeah, you guys can see the size of this in here. I'm gonna put you on the camera. Not bad. Not bad at all. And then sitting right here is kind of nice because you got your heat dumping on you. So you can have a spot to get really warm. And then over there's not so much heat in the dinette that it runs you out of here, but it still keeps things warm. And more so, it heats this, it inadvertently heats the cushion. And so that often feels kind of nice, just sitting there with a warm cushion. So underneath here, that's just how that looks under there. You got your heat ducted into that bay, keeps that water heater nice and warm. And so the idea here, guys, is the areas that the critical components are heated first, okay? And then the main cabin is heated next. Critical components first. They all always stay warm in the middle of winter, because it's very easy for certain spots buried in a cabinet, if you don't have heat ducted to it, to turn into a little refrigerator spot, and then a freezer, and then it freezes your water system up, freezes up critical components. And it's important to keep good capacity on your batteries. You have to have a good battery capacity in the middle of winter, and the same thing with propane. Otherwise, stuff just isn't gonna run. So let's run up on the roof, and then we'll be done with this video. Okay. So that's the lippert ladder. Oh, hang on. What do you think? You good with it?
Yeah.
Okay. I like these lippert ladders. They're nice.
Yeah.
Telescoping ladder.
It's pressing a little bit on that window, or that.
Yeah. It's from the airbags, essentially. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, we let the airbags down, air it up the airbags, and then. Oh, I think it's okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, we let the put air in the airbags, and they brought this up to where this thing is not as nice and steep of an angle. So just be careful. This is how these things latch. You don't want to hurt yourself. Okay, here we go. So this is how we do our roofs. Corrugating is very good. We have some roofs that we don't corrugate, but I encourage corrugating. I've covered that in other videos, but it helps really shed that water a lot better. And then these seams right here, this is an S-lock joint. I've shown on the channel how we do it. It's got tar string in it. It's sealed here, and then you get a turn-on tape on top of it. Very solid seam. But then you seal along the edges right here, and then make it look nice, but care more about good, valuable sealant than you do about aesthetics. But there are the solar panels right there. Wipe them off with just a microfiber cloth, and they're going to give you plenty of capacity. Right here, what I love about these, I've shown you guys these brackets before. why I really like them. But you can just undo this nut, pull this panel up, and you're not going to mess with the penetration into the roof. Alternatively, you can mount this on a rail system that is penetrated into the roof, and then mount the rails to that rail, and then that way you can service them without messing with the roof brackets, which is also nice. But right here, this is how I prefer to do the penetration for the solar wires themselves. These go right into the roof. They're still sealed under there, but then this is installed and sealed on after. So good solid way to do it. Very good way to do it. But then your vents, we like to use Sikaflex on everything. It's a much more superior sealant. Right there, pretty simple. But yeah, there's your solar panels. That's 570 watts. So let's run back down there. Pull a tape measure, grab a height. We can do that. Okay guys, well that's the walkthrough there. That took a minute or 3, but that's fine. I like good extensive walkthroughs, showing exactly how things look. And yeah, man, you're gonna enjoy this thing. This is a nice camper. And what I really like is that this also kind of covers the doors to the truck. That's real nice. But yeah, anyway, all right guys, thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. If you have any questions, let us know. We'll have pictures of this over on the website. Cheers.